What up, what up? This is your boy, Matt B.
I'm Angela Benson, also known as the CEO and co-founder of Vita Records and the manager and wife of Matt B.
And this is Gimme Love's
Road to the Grammys.
Give me love, give me love, hey! Give me love, give me love, louder!
For me, I really wanted to do something that was impactful. Obviously, I'm an R&B singer. I've been doing R&B for a very long time, but I wanted to kind of switch my gears around because I became more and more increasingly interested in my ancestry, particularly from Africa.
But for the new year, I wanted to do something a little different that kind of felt like it paid homage to the motherland and our ancestors.
I felt like to bridge that gap, the best way of going about doing it was to do it through music. So I decided with my wife Angela that we were going to create an Afrobeats EP.
In order to do that in the most authentic way, we wanted to make sure that we reached out to a bunch of different artists and different producers and songwriters that were native to the motherland and really live in that Afrobeats lane to give the project the flair that it needed to not only feel authentic, we wanted it to feel fun and loving and like a great tribute to the motherland.
Trying to figure out what I was trying to do with the Afrobeats EP, I knew instantaneously that I needed features on the EP. I knew that I wanted to have that authenticity.
And it was really important that we brought in African artists from all over the continent. And the best way to do that was to reach out to all of our different connections to see who we could find.
And we decided on Oxlade. So we have a record with him called One and Only.
But of course, that only covers the West African region of the continent. So we wanted to see if there was any way that we could address the East African side.
And then the next artist that we decided to put on the EP was Eddie Kenzo.
Meeting Eddie was a very interesting process. Our good friend, and also happens to be a producer on this track, Greg Shelsa, he reached out to me and said, hey, I know you're doing an Afrobeats project. I actually have a guy who might be a really good fit. And thus enter Eddy Kenzo.
I met Eddie, ironically, at a Grammy party. It was for your consideration here in Los Angeles, and we actually ended up being seated right next to one another. We hit it off right away. We had a really cool conversation with each other, and from there we wanted to go hit the studio right away.
And that's how Eddie came to be. So the very next day, we go to the studio, and as we're waiting for the engineer to arrive, Eddie decides that he wants to play a couple of beats.
We were leaning on my car. He was like, man, bro, I got some instrumentals that I want to play you. The first one that he played eventually became Gimme Love. It was the first instrumental that I heard from him.
And as soon as I heard dun 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 dun,
and it like instantly caught my ear, and I was like, man, this beat is fire. And I really liked the instrumental, but I wanted to hear a little more. But my wife Angela, she was like,
oh shit, that's the one. So then Matt's like, oh man, I really like that record, it's dope, but
I didn't want to settle on the first instrumental that I heard.
And I'm like, Matt, no, it's not gonna get any better than that. It's this one. If you want the moment, if you want the vibe, it's this record. Thankfully, they took my word for it.
And I liked it too, so I was like, you wanna know what? I'm 100% sold on it. Let's do something to it. The writing and recording sessions were actually really funny because, Eddie, he's a very, very creative person, and he's very headstrong about what he wants, what he likes, and what he doesn't like. We started the session. Eddie was like, kind of just like humming the lyrics, like "Give me love, give me love, hey." So then from there, I added the melody onto it, and we were like, man, that's the hook right there. I mean, it's just simple, it's clean, it's catchy. Let's lay that down. So I laid down the talking part, and then I also laid down the singing part. And then I asked Eddie, I was like, man, you gotta go in there and you gotta sing the hook too. He was like, no, I don't wanna sing the hook. What you did was good enough. I'm like, bro, you have to sing the hook. He's like, no, I'm not singing the hook. But eventually, like as he was doing his verses, I think he caught a vibe, so he ended up singing the hook in one of his takes. And I told Babby, the engineer, I was like, bro, take that. I hope you recorded that. He's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, cool. Take that and fly it over throughout the rest of the record. The entire record in and of itself was just a complete freestyle. I freestyled everything, Eddie freestyled everything. It was just a whole vibe, and I distinctly remember that while we were recording that record, Angela and I had our 3 little ones inside of the studio, and they were vibing out to the record too. So it was just like the energy in that room was captured in that sound recording. When Mac came in, we did like 5 or 6 passes on the mixes, and we just kept going at it, and it was call after call, Zoom call after Zoom call, pass after pass, and eventually we finally got the mix that we wanted, but it took forever.
Shout out to Stein, who is the mastermind behind the hit, and we couldn't have been more happy to have his production on the record. He brought everything to life. He had all of the elements we were looking for, and it ended up coming together to make what you guys now hear as Gimme Love.
The music video shoot was absolutely insane because Eddie had already left LA, and I was still in LA. I was only in LA for a limited amount of time because at this point in time I still lived in Chicago. So we were extending our stay, trying to stay as long as we could.
I hit up our director and good friend, Philly Flyboy, who has shot all of Matt B's videos, and he was the only one that I trusted to help direct this video with me. With the scope of this video, we wanted to kind of blend the 2 cultures of America and Africa, and it was really important to kind of join those 2 worlds together because Matt and Eddie have very similar stories. Matt is a young black man from the ghettos of Chicago, and then we have Eddie Kenzo, who is a young black man from the ghettos of Kampala. So we wanted to find a way to pay homage to not only both of their cultures, but who they are as people. We sat down with the director and worked on the treatment, and Philly was like, hey, what if we do something where we film it in LA, but we make it look like Africa? And I thought that was really dope. So we kind of went off of that idea and we built off of it. So on the day of the shoot, as most shoots are, you plan it out and then the day just kind of takes a mind of its own.
Because we had so many dancers that we wanted to incorporate into the music video.
We wanted it to feel colorful. We wanted it to feel fun and vibrant. So we had all these different patterns and all of these different fringes, and we wanted it to feel really authentic without it feeling cheap, And
it was crazy. The best way that I can describe it is organized chaos.
It was really important for everything that we did to be intentional, and one of the key features that we had was Nakim, who is a South Sudanese supermodel, and I felt like she was the perfect fit for what it was we were hoping to embody. She has this beautiful ebony skin, her features pop, and she's just so gorgeous, and I thought that she would be the perfect embodiment of the beauty of Mother Africa.
The location of the music video shoot was up a mountain, so there was really bad signal and really bad Wi-Fi.
After we ended up getting everyone up the hill, then it was a case of getting everyone dressed and getting everyone hair and makeup ready.
So we couldn't communicate with our staff at the bottom of the mountain. So it was just like this big, huge mix-up of when things were starting, when people had to be at a certain spot, etc., etc.
We had a huge crew, but there were only a certain amount of people that would actually fit at the top of this hill. So we had to go up in a car one by one to drop off everybody, and poor Matt was the person who was enlisted to do it because somebody had to stay at the top and receive everyone and receive the wardrobe and make sure everyone got in. So that was my job. I had to make sure that everyone stayed in the position and knew where they needed to go. And in the beginning, Matt had to go up and down the hill to get people out of a car. Sorry, Matt. It worked out, but that wasn't very fun. But of course, again, these things kind of take a mind of their own, and one of the stylists forgot the wardrobe at her house.
And there were issues with the wardrobe because half the wardrobe got left an hour away, so we had to make do with what we had.
And unfortunately, part of that was Nakim's wardrobe. So we had to make do and get really creative with some of the other outfits that we had for her. And then in addition to that, we also had to get creative with one of Matt's looks, which was missing. So the stylist actually ended up taking off her dashiki that she had and gave it to Matt. So no one would know, but on that scene where Matt had the black dashiki, underneath it, he had some Naruto sweatpants. I don't think anyone would ever know that.
It was super cloudy that day, so we had to shoot like in between when the sun came back out. So whenever the sun came back out, we had maybe like about 2 minutes or 3 minutes worth of filming time, and then we had to stop again.
Shooting with Philly that day was so fun. It's always so much fun working with Philly because I feel like he really understands how Matt and I's minds work, and so I'll give him an idea, and it's like he brings it into reality and really manifests it into the real world. And then seeing how we wanted to have Nakim coming down the stairs and being elegant and all of those different things that we put in our treatment coming to life inside of the music video was so much fun.
And my favorite part about that day was I asked Philly Flyboy, who was directing the music video with Angela, I asked him, I was like, hey, I want the dancers to dance around me in a circle as I do my verse and as Eddie does his verse. And initially he was like, we'll think about it, but he eventually ended up doing it, and I think that turned out to be one of the dopest scenes in the video.
So the music video shoot was a long, arduous, but successful day. And I think it shows in the body of work that we put out and that we produce, that we really put our heart and soul into the song and into the video. And I'm so happy that it was received as well as it has been so far this year.
I was so excited when I had the opportunity to go to Uganda. Man, that flight was so long, but so worth it. And to see the fans online and to see how they interact and all that stuff is one thing, but to actually see them in person and to see the love and the joy and the happiness in their face and knowing that this record did that, like, there's no better feeling.
It was really interesting to see how things unfolded because it ended up getting a lot of traction on Facebook of all places. And within a little less than a month, we had about 2 million plays on Facebook, and it started to just continue growing. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we're sitting at about 4 million plays on Facebook, over 600,000 on YouTube, and collectively, we're at about 5 million streams as a whole, globally.
Instantly after it was recorded and after we did the music video and we watched everything, the completed body of work, we were like, this, we feel, is a very, very strong record because it embodied myself from America as well as the African feel and flavor. And we thought that it was a very strong record and a very strong contender for Grammy consideration.
Which is literally mind-blowing for something that was started so small as an idea and something that we just wanted to do for the love of music and for the love of the culture and for bringing the diaspora to America and sharing that culture with the people. It's amazing how something as small as an idea can just manifest itself into something bigger.
So my team, they just went on a mission to try and get as much visibility as possible for this record. And I'm just so proud that with what we did through Vita Records.
And I want to say a big shout out to Danny Barros, who was extremely instrumental in making all of this happen. He was one of the only people who sat with me throughout this entire process and really believed in the record from start to finish, helped us strategize from point A all the way to point Z. And I'm just so grateful for all of his input and support. In addition, shout out to Greg, who also was extremely key in making all of what you guys see happen. And I'm just so thankful for everyone on our team.
And you have to keep in mind, I'm not with a major label and neither is Eddie. And when you're talking about doing a feature, it's an unwritten rule that whoever asks the other artist to do the feature, that person has to do the push. So it fell on my team, it fell on Vita Records, it fell on Angela, it fell on myself to make sure that we push this record as far as we could possibly push it. And I think we did a pretty good job. I was able to really absorb all of that when Eddie allowed me to perform the record with him at Eddy Kenzo Fest, and just feeling that energy in front of 100,000 people. There was nothing like it. Something that I'm proud of, my team is proud of, and everyone involved in the record is when Gimme Love entered the US Billboard Afrobeats chart.
And my mind was blown. I cried heavy tears. And I was so happy with Matt and the whole team. We all celebrated and
debuted at number 49 and climbed to number 36, and we still feel like this record has a lot in it, and we're just gonna keep pushing until it hits number 1.
I'm so grateful to everyone who has listened and shared and taken time with the song and believed in it, because that's the ultimate gift. Whenever you're doing music and whenever you're sharing your art, you want it to be received with the people, and you want the people to enjoy the music and make you feel something. And even if for 2 minutes it takes you to a happier place or a place of peace and a place of joy, that's really what it was all about. And I'm so grateful to everyone who took time out of their day to really spend time with Gimme Love.
Gimme Love has accrued over 20 awards, spanning across video awards, writing awards, song awards, etc., etc. And it just goes to show, like, this was a very, very strong record. And both myself, Angela, and the rest of the team, they knew that. So we thought, what better way to bring this to the next level than to try and see if we could bring a Grammy home. I hadn't planned on staying for the announcement of whether we did or didn't get the Grammy nomination, but the Grammy nomination was literally so close. It was only a couple of days away that Eddie was like, hey, I think that you should stay, because in the event that this nomination goes through, we're gonna have a big party. So I was like, man, that seems like something that I want to be a part of. I want to feel the energy of Uganda. I want to feel the energy of the people. I want to celebrate with my brother. So I decided to extend my trip, and I'm so glad that I did, because the vibe was insane.
That brings us to the Grammy nomination.
When the nomination finally came through, I was so happy and so excited, and I felt like this feeling of accomplishment, but also this feeling of relief, because the journey had been so long, and we had worked so hard here at Vita Records and just as a team in general, and it was just like, wow, like when you can see all of your hard work manifest into something like a Grammy nomination, I don't think there's any better feeling than that.
It is only a dream for any artist or producer or engineer to be nominated for the biggest award in music, the most prestigious award in music. And you know, it was always a dream that that could happen for Gimme Love, and we really pushed hard, but there were so many great songs that came out this year, and we are honored to be among the 5. And when the nomination came in, Matt and I just cried, and Eddie cried. I think we all cried. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. We just thank God for allowing us to be among the 5 nominees for this year's Grammy Awards in the Global Performance category. And I just have to say thank you to all of the fans all around the world for listening to Gimme Love, for streaming it, and a huge thank you to everyone on our team. Thank you to Stein, thank you to Philly Flyboy, to Greg, to Eddie, to Matt, to Mac. Thank you, everyone. I know I'm missing people. Thank you, everyone, for all of your hard work and dedication on this project. We couldn't have made it to this point without you, and our work is not done. This isn't where you see the last of Gimme Love. This isn't the last of Matt B. This isn't the last of Eddie Kenzo. We're gonna keep on rising, we're gonna keep on growing, and we're gonna bring this Grammy home.